Jordan Addison is being disrespected in this year's Offensive Rookie of the Year conversation. Find out why we love Jordan Addison to win the award, and stick around to the end of the show to hear my 200-1 bet on Jordan Addison in a specific market. That and more on today's episode. What's going on, friends? Welcome back to Forward Progress here on the Hammer Betting Network, powered by Pinnacle Sportsbook. Before we get into today's show, I want to remind everyone that Pinnacle is the world's sharpest sportsbook and available to bettors in Ontario. Find out what professional bettors have known for decades. Pinnacle is where the best bettors play. Must be 19 plus in Ontario. Please play responsibly, and not available in the US. So guys, for today's video, I am joined by Fabian Sommer at Suma810 over on Twitter. Today, we're going to look at the Offensive Rookie of the Year market. And Suma, we were talking about this a little bit before. You think there's a player in the market that you think is a little mispriced. So before I bury the lead here, I'm just going to let everyone know who it is. It's Jordan Addison, right? Jordan Addison for Offensive Rookie of the Year, as you can see with the USC jersey right here. Everywhere at other books is looking to be around 17-1, but Pinnacle, of course, best price in market that I found, plus 1707. So you're getting that extra 7 cents. And listen, it's a future. You might as well try and get as much money as you can out of this bet. So Suma, why don't you tell us why you like Jordan Addison here at 17-1?
I like Jordan Addison at this price, especially when you compare it to JSN. We'll talk about him later. I think Jordan Addison has a clear path among all the rookies to get a great number 2 role as a starting rookie wide receiver. Like the Vikings have Justin Jefferson and KJ Osborne, and I think it's always conditioned on the probability of him being actually good and actually showing that he's good enough to start. But if he's good enough, he will enter the offense as the wide receiver 2, and he's playing alongside Justin Jefferson, arguably the best wide receiver in the game. The Vikings offense, they had a lot of issues last year, very inconsistent, playing from behind a few times. Kirk Cousins telling on Netflix that he has been struggling with the new scheme, with the new offense early on. And now they're entering year 2 in the Karen O'Connell offense. TJ Hawkinson is with the team for the full offseason. The starting offensive line is returning all starters. And with the way defenses have to account for Justin Jefferson, there's such a unique path for success for Jordan Addison. It also will help that the Vikings, in my opinion, have one of the worst defenses in the league. They have a strong pass rush, or could have a strong defensive line, so to speak. But a strong defensive line only takes you as far. Last season, they also were pretty decent up front, but they couldn't cover it all. Now you got Brian Flores with a very young and inexperienced secondary. They lost Eric Kendricks, so I don't expect the defense to be good. So that means that we're getting an improved offense, most likely, that will need to win more games in like high scoring affairs, because I don't expect the defense to really contain opposing offenses throughout the year. There will be some shootouts, some opportunities where the Vikings play from behind and have to throw the ball. Kevin O'Connell is also a pass first coach, so everything is set up very well for Jordan Addison to have a great rookie season, in my opinion.
I love that, and I'm going to touch on that a little bit later with our final question. But before we get to that, I want you to kind of give a reason as to why some other favorites might not win Rookie of the Year, some bear cases for guys specifically like Bijan Robinson, who's the current favorite at plus 246 over at Pinnacle, and for JSN, who is a fellow receiver in this class at plus 803. So give me a reason why you think those guys would not win over Addison, or their bear cases.
Yeah, so Bijan Robinson is the obvious favorite, and aside from injury, I think the bear case would be that Desmond Ridder might really stink. I'm fairly optimistic about the Falcons in general, but I think there's still a decent path where Desmond Ridder might fail, and that means that the offense will not be as good as we think they are, and that will inevitably lead to fewer scoring opportunities for Bijan Robinson, fewer game scripts where he or where the Falcons might pound the rock in the second half and he can collect all these garbage rushing touchdowns, rushing yards. That would be my bear case. And JSN, my bear case is that he's going to enter an offense with two very established wide receivers in Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. And Tyler Lockett is also like the premier slot guy, and JSN played exclusively in the slot in college. So he is really going to battle with Tyler Lockett for all these slot looks, and he might just end up being that wide receiver 3 guy. And that's just where I think that JSN should not be priced that differently from Jordan Addison, because he just might have a worse role, so to speak.
Yeah, fair enough. And one more thing I want to touch on before we get to our last question is some other markets that Addison could be a part of. And like you mentioned here with JSN and the case against Addison and JSN, where do you like Jordan Addison to lead rookies in receiving yards? Right now he's plus 250. Do you like that at the current number? Is there a number you would play it at?
It's a tad low. I think anything in the plus 280, plus 300 range would be solid. But I still think there's a good case to be made for Jordan Addison for all the things that I have mentioned. Like, I could really see that offense producing high volume production. They might not be a top 5 offense at all. I think it's fair to project them to be in the 10 to 14 range, but there's certainly upside if John Addison turns out to be really good. And then you're going to get a good offense with decent passing volume and a bad defense where they have to compensate quite some production.
Before we get out of here, I have one more question for you, and it's a bet that I found. Right, you're the sharp. I'm going to consider myself a square here, and I found a Jordan Addison bet at 200 to 1. He is currently listed at 200 to 1 at another sports book to lead the league in touchdowns. I know that sounds a little crazy, Suma. I know that's a little bananas, but hear me out for a second, all right? Like you said, the Vikings were very lucky last year, but they're still a very good offense, and they're a top 10 offense, potentially top 8 with a ton of upside. Their defense should be a lot worse, like you said before, so that should lead to higher scoring games. They lost Cook and Thielen, who both contributed to, I think it was 12 touchdowns last year. The role of Thielen, who again is always found the end zone for the Minnesota Vikings, I assume, and I think you mentioned this earlier, that's probably going to be handed off to Addison with his route running ability and his ability to find ways to get open in small spaces. And finally, the last thing is just Jordan Addison. I love his ability to transition from college to the NFL. Just with he doesn't have the physical tools, but his route running ability, I think, is his greatest weapon. So I think, is there a case to be made here to sprinkle some 200 to 1 Jordan Addison to lead the league in touchdowns? He would, we've seen years where guys have won with 15 or 16 touchdowns. Do you think that's even possible, or am I crazy?
I mean, I will never argue against someone sprinkling on such a fun bet at 200 to 1 odds. I think the tail event would be like Justin Jefferson getting injured and Jordan Addison getting a lot more red zone opportunities and red zone looks, and Kevin O'Connell really dialing up more passing plays in the red zone in front of the end zone. Not having Dalvin Cook at the goal line will probably help that case, but I think it's still going to be a long road for Jordan Addison to lead the league in receiving touchdowns.
Fair enough. That's why you're the sharp and I'm the square. But anyways, that's it for us today, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you like the show, guys, please remember to hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure you ring that notification bell to be notified when these videos go live, guys. You want to beat the market to these videos. We're probably going to be moving markets here. So hit that notification bell to be notified when these videos go live. Anyways, without further ado, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. For Suma, I'm producer Jason, signing off. This has been Forward Progress right here on the Hammer Betting Network.